Um, so we're going to have an author join us almost right away. So we'll let people get in and then we'll get started. Should be fun. Hi, Lisa. Hello, Tara.
Hey, Lisa.
Oh, hi.
Jill, you're here. I'm seeing all these names pop up. Yay. Oh, Lisa, you're backed up. Is that like Buckingham Palace or?
No, that is, oh, sorry, mind the dog. That is Pemberley.
It's what?
Pemberley,
Oh,
Pride and Prejudice. And then my drink is Jane's Addiction.
that's very impressive. I have a
From,
real background.
from my Jane, oh, you can't really see it because my background. It's a book called Jane Austen.
Oh, nice.
It's cocktails to go with the novels of Jane Austen. So a bunch of teachers and I were doing, we just finished Pride and Prejudice, and now we're reading Sense and Sensibility.
Oh, how fun.
So
Making the appropriate cocktails?
Yes. So last weekend we made Devonshire Dreamsicles, which is basically an alcoholic orange Julius, and they were delicious.
Oh, man.
Yes.
That's very good. That's very cool. Hey, I see Angela is on there. You guys turn on your cameras if you want. It's always fun to see your faces. Angela, we found a gift card for Sonoma Mountain today on the floor. We're not sure why. So we have one here in the file cabinet for you. It's got money to spend.
That's very exciting. Are you sure it doesn't belong to one of the kids, or is it one of my old?
Specifically says Sonoma Mountain Elementary on it.
Wow. I'll definitely take it. I'm really excited.
I know. It's clipped to your folder in the file cabinet.
Okay, I'll see you Monday night.
Awesome. Hello, Lori Lutz. Hi, Linda Bannister. Hi, Megan. Oh, Megan, you're here. Awesome. Hello, Deborah. So you guys can turn on your cameras. It's so much more festive. Hi, Sharon. Oh.
My cocktail is called the I'm Here cocktail. It's called whatever soda I had and whatever booze I had thrown into a cup so that I can say that I have one.
I like that. That's very impressive.
Do today.
I know my husband mixed a very large cocktail for me that I had some of last night. I thought there's no way I could drink the whole thing. I would be slurring worsely than I will. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes because then we have an author joining us. A couple things to talk about tonight. You guys have signed up for shopping nights. The 28th and the 30th are the nights that we have. The 28th is currently full. The 29th is my husband's birthday, so can't fill in there. And the 30th has still got room. We have limited capacity, which is why we're giving you a night to shop with just teachers. And we'll have all the books that we talk about both last night and tonight. So if you haven't signed up, please do. What time is it? 5:59. So one of my favorite legendary authors is joining us tonight. He's already on, and he's got a new book to talk about as part of one of two in a new series. And I can see him. Do you have your cocktail, sir?
I didn't know this was a cocktail thing.
Come on, John.
I was ill-informed. I'm in outer space.
That's not true. I was going to mail you a cocktail, but then I neglected to.
I totally forgot the cocktail portion of that.
You want to run and grab one? We have time.
No, I'm weirdly like outdoors for some COVID reason. I can't even explain it.
Okay.
Hence the black backdrop. This is deep Catskills woods. If a bear comes and eats me, I've done it for Copperfields.
It will be legendary if that happens.
It will
So
be.
that's very cool.
You'll see it right here.
You're like, I was there when John Cheska got eaten by a bear. You guys, John Cheska is joining us tonight.
Oh my gosh. Yay.
Hello, people.
He's got books to talk about, and I'm going to turn it over to him. John, these are some of the most amazing teachers, all of whom here in Northern California, or at least the North Bay, they're distance learning. So they're teaching everything by Zoom. And having seen that with a couple class visits with Mac last week, they all deserve $1 million.
Well, that's exactly what I thought. I was a teacher in New York City for 10 years. I taught first grade through 8th grade, and it was fucking hard enough in person. So you guys doing it online, my heart goes out to you. And Patty and I have a special surprise for you later, just because we love you so much. And we just hugely appreciate what you're doing here. And I know no one knows really what it means. Well, maybe they do because they've been stuck with their kids in quarantine. This may be the best thing that happened to education in forever, I think. It's just like, oh, you want to see what, this is one kid. How about 20 of these? Try that. But I want to show you, like, I don't have my book with me. Patty will show it. The latest one coming out is Astronauts 2. And it's just the most fun project I've been doing lately. It seems like the most grim topic of climate change, but my illustrator, who happens to also be my son-in-law, we just wanted to do something serious and goofy all rolled into one. So it's a graphic novel. It's designed for those kids who are stuck on Captain Underpants and Dogman and the 13-story treehouse, all of which I love, but I know how hard that is to get kids to move. So the story is a secret NASA program, which is housed behind Thomas Jefferson's nose in Mount Rushmore, has been designed, if Earth ever gets out of control, these 4 superpowered animals will go off and look for a Goldilocks planet. And so sure enough, last year, we went over 400 parts per million, and the Thomas Jefferson nose rocket took off to look at another planet. So they went to the plant planet. And so this book combines our real love of science with just goofiness. These animals are like Alpha Wolf, who's a lot like several world leaders at the moment, bit full of himself, a bit of an asshole, doesn't listen to anybody, takes credit for everything, is wrecking everything. But luckily, he's got Smart Hawk, who is his planner. He's got Laser Shark, who is security and the nurse, and Stink Bug, who's the tech guy who leaks methane. So we have the best fun. So we explore real science of like what is going to happen to Earth, and it's not good. And my favorite part of this, which actually came about from my favorite editor, who happens to be Patty Norman's daughter, Taylor, who some of you might know, who is just brilliant. We were trying to figure out who tells this story. It's superpowered animals going to a planet 400 light years away. Like, who could tell it better? And Taylor like read an email I had sent her about like, you know, Earth will do this thing and something will happen. And she wrote back, oh my God, what a genius idea. Earth is the narrator. And I wrote back, oh yeah, that's what I meant. Earth is the narrator. So Earth is the narrator. Like, who else would narrate this? And she's pissed. She says like, yeah, please go find another planet. I'm 4 billion years old and you guys have been around for less than 1 million and you've screwed me up. You're like a terrible virus yourself. So she narrates throughout and she's just such a smart ass, which I don't know where that comes from. Probably the editor or maybe the editor's mom. We don't know. But she gets to just make fun of these guys. And of course they land on the plant planet. And this book is beautiful. It's in full 4-color. It's 200 pages long. Every book has a giant 4-page fold-out battle. And of course, it's the astronauts fighting the local inhabitants who happen to be plants, who have also screwed up their planet. And we won't tell you what happens. It's a spoiler alert, though. When you mix methane with a spark, things don't go well. And so they go back to Earth, land back on Thomas Jefferson's face, and then they have to go look at another planet, which is the water planet. We get a little more crazy in this one. Oh, and the artwork I should mention, done by Stephen, is all collage that was done from the Dutch National Museum and also the Smithsonian, who, like the museums, are now looking to get their artwork out to a wider audience. So Stephen is just using things like Rembrandt paintings with clam faces on them, or like a great Hokusai print of a wave, and then he puts our characters in it. It looks beautiful. It also gives us a chance to poke a little fun at current politics. When they land on the plant planet, they find out it's run by clams, specifically the Clam Senate, which has the Clam Brothers, also has Clam McConnell, who has no chin, as Clam Rockefeller. It just, we just let kids know like any species can wreck a planet. So it's kind of a grim message, but it's also like a realistic message. Like it ends every time with Earth saying like the clock is ticking. You guys got to take care of me or I won't take care of you. And with that cliffhanger, I'll let you in on a little secret. Book 3, the final book in the series, is called The Perfect Planet. And that's actually Earth itself back in time before humans discover fire. They time travel, and of course, not in the Thomas Jefferson nose rocket, but in the Abraham Lincoln Beard vehicle. That would be the ALBV, as we say in NASA secret speak.
How
And
do
then,
you spell NASA,
yeah,
John?
go ahead, Patty. Yeah.
How do you spell NASA again?
It's actually not NASA, so it's NNASA. So Stephen can put their logo on everything and we won't get sued, which is kind of great. But it actually involves the kids too, because the end of every book then shows the kids how the book was made, how the art was made. And they can go to astronauts.space, which is listed in the back of the book, and use this same artwork to make their same stuff. And here in this spread, Stephen shows the original like 18th century lithographs that he used to then turn into current art. And it's just been, we've had so much fun showing this to kids, and they're so smart about climate change, unlike some people we won't mention. They know like it's a thing, it's a real thing, and it's up to them to solve it. So we do end on a hopeful note saying like, you know what, it's not realistic to look for a Goldilocks planet. We're not going to move 8 billion people off this planet. We actually have to fix this, like right now. So Patty and I have teamed up, and we would love to give all of you guys who not only are teaching, but who I love have spent like this time to keep working. We decided you guys all need a signed copy of the book. Like we're just going to give you a book because we love you. And I just love how much you're doing.
Mr. Sheska, do you have time for 3 questions?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because
Teacher?
the bear has not come yet.
Oh, so far, so good. Yeah, so we'll get your names. We know who's online as far as the books go. And so you guys will get a copy when you come and shop, or it will be here on hold for you. We haven't quite figured the logistics out
Or
yet.
we'll deliver it right to your door. Patty will come to you in the dead of night, drunk.
On the Emmy Awards, right after tonight, I'll be coming over. And
Yeah.
also, your Time Warp Trio books have taken off. They're selling again. So I don't know what, maybe, I mean, we have them featured.
I mean,
but still.
Yeah. That's still one of my favorite series. I mean, I wrote that when my kids were probably 3rd and 5th grade. And I wrote that with them in mind, and to keep those chapters short and things real and goofy.
It is like a real and goofy version of Magic Treehouse. So it's great. Okay, people, how about a question for John? Somebody out there. What's it like working with your son-in-law?
That's actually a great question. It could be incredibly awkward, which I didn't think about until people started asking me that question. But oh my God, he's both such a talent and so clueless. He actually doesn't give a shit that he's working with me, which is great. And we work in the same way like Lane Smith and I worked, where we're in the same room together. Like we're up here in the Catskills. I live across the road from him. And I go in his studio, and we have the story kind of like blocked out. But what we'll do is figure out like, oh, what happens in this chapter? Is there a better way to show that in pictures or words? And more often I just tell him, well, why don't you draw it? I'll write later. But it's fun and weird.
That's great. And you get to see your granddaughter, right?
Yeah, well, we made all of book 1 and book 2 during nap time. Because I have 2 granddaughters who are 3 years old and 1 year old. And as you know, that's chaos when they're awake. So from 12:30 to 2:30, we had to get as much done as humanly possible. Because as soon as we heard them waking up, it was all over. But I don't know, kind of fun to be doing it that way too.
That's pretty great. Well, one question we have for you is what's next, either in this series or in general? Do you have other plans as far as books go?
Yeah, I got a couple things in the works. I'm doing a picture book with Candlewick that's called Dada Goose, which is probably something I should have thought before. It's messing around with nursery rhymes. I've messed up everything else. That was actually a great description. Like one kid at a presentation asked, like, how do you get ideas for your books? And this little third grade girl piped up like, he just takes stuff and messes it up. And I went, yeah, you know what? That's actually a great description of what I do. So that's what I'm doing with nursery rhymes.
So fun.
That's going to come out next year. And I'm messing around with something for slightly older kids, maybe middle grade-ish, of some kind of more fresh fables, like stuff for right now. Like the donkey who didn't listen to anything. I don't know where that came from.
No, it's, I don't know why.
Not really political tonight. Wow. I should be drinking.
You should be. What's the next planet for the astronauts? Is it Earth, or do they do one more?
Yeah, that's it. The third one is the perfect planet, and it's kind of a secret. Don't tell anybody. But it is Earth itself. They go back in time and realize, oh, it was the perfect planet before we got here. I kind of love that as the punchline to the series.
Yeah.
But also that hope, also that realistic message of like, you know what? We're not going anywhere. This is it. It's do or die, truly.
Will you be collaborating with Lane Smith in the future? Do you have any other plans?
He and I are messing around with some stuff. We just might be. And we might do some Three Pigs and Stinky Cheese stuff with our good friends Netflix, who seem to be
really
buying everything. But that would be fun. I would love to see that.
That would be very great.
I mean, we did TV and movie stuff years ago with it, but it just never happened. And it turned into Shrek, actually. But there's always another time.
Now there's so much need for content, and to be able to see Lane stuff up there, that'd be amazing. That'd be great.
Yeah, and Lane is an animator himself. He loves animation. It's
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He did a couple of his own mini animations and mini movies. In fact, I think it's why our books work so well. He's such a cinematic thinker, because you can tell how a book unfolds when Lane's doing it.
It's very cool. Lisa Hanley has asked, what message should all children hear about reading and writing, and what advice do you have for them? Said Julie. So everyone wants to know what you would advise somebody.
Wow. I think it's like the heart of what the guys read stuff is. Like, go ahead and start with what you enjoy reading. I think kids get pushed into so much required stuff, and hopefully we've weathered the testing crapola, but that's going to always be with us. And I think we've really killed the joy of reading, and it's even more in danger now, I'm sure, because we're not going to be able to tell kids like, oh, read this thing and write a report on it. I mean, my own son was just a dedicated anti-reader. And he told me one time, like, I'm not going to read a book. I'm just going to have to write something about it. Why would I do that? Oh man, we've really given you the wrong message. So yeah, I would tell kids, like, help kids find what they enjoy. It's what we do as readers.
Right.
We don't go around looking for an assignment. We talk to our friends and go like, oh, what do you like? What are you reading? Or what might I like? You know me, like, tell me something I might like.
I know, it is the most fun, is just finding the kid whose parent keeps talking over them about what they like, and sneaking around to the kid being like, no, what do you like? And it's a totally different answer. And the kids are really delighted to be heard and find it. And if you guys don't know John's Guys Read series, they're short stories by all the top writers in various collections. There's science fiction and history and humor, and you can figure out a writer that you might like by reading these. So
yeah, and that was the purpose of that too. It was like the Guys Read program started out bigger, where we were kind of had groups and clubs, but what became most effective was to collect those writers who I think are great. And so there's 7 different books, 10 writer illustrators per book. And I always tell kids they're short stories. Like, if you don't like it, stop reading it. No one gets to, you don't get to do that in 4th grade. No one ever gets to stop reading, right? So I just said, find something you like. And it's writers like, so you'll find more. Like, if you like this author, you might look around and maybe Kate DiCamillo has some more things. And it's a great mix of everybody, men, women, graphic novelists, just like everybody of every stripe we could throw in, just to give that idea to kids, like, there's no, and the same reason why what we tell kids when we go to schools as an author, to say, there's not just one author, there's all kinds of authors, a million ways to be an author, and they're all unlikely. It's not a great job description.
One last question. Have you spotted the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel anywhere in the background while you're waiting there?
Not yet, but she might be dressed as a bear. I don't know.
I wouldn't put it past her. Their costumes are amazing.
They are. A 50s bear.
Yeah. Lovely, John Sheska. I'll be in touch about these books that we're giving away. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being here. It's really great.
Oh, my pleasure. And once again, I mean, thanks to you guys for being the ones in the trenches. Having been there, I so love you and appreciate you. And thanks to Patty. Let's have a round of like drink and applause for Patty, who like carries on, right? Who keeps us together, who gets us together. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Patty.
Good night. As soon as he's gone, we can talk about him.
Wait, I'm not leaving you.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that was so awesome.
You guys, John Sheska, man, he's the best. And so these books are really fun. And they came out right as sort of pandemic was starting. And so we really didn't get a chance to do a lot with him. He came out and did one visit at a school in Sonoma with me, where my nonprofit, we gave every kid a book, which is great. So he's returning that favor tonight by giving all of you a book. So that's awesome. So it will be book 2, the newest one, that he's going to send me some book plates too, so they'll be signed. Couple of things before we get going on our next books. I'm going to be sending you some information on our book fairs. We're getting started again. We've got some really good plans for how they can work both virtually and in store. There's a long list of all the options you have, and it looks really solid. I think they've come up with a good way to make it work. So I will be sending you that. I don't know if you've participated in our Money for Schools program that we've done before, where all of your parents can shop in the store over a certain weekend. It'll be, I think it'll be the first weekend in November, which is slightly after Election Day. So Lord knows what it'll look like. But that's a good fundraiser for your school, because every dollar they spend in the store goes back to your school. And the signups are very easy. I don't have information on it yet, but I will be sending it out to that Google group of teachers, among other things, for you to sign up as soon as we get that nailed down. We are doing author visits. I did the first author visits last week at Cherry Valley with April Derby and Mac Barnett. It went great. It was amazing. I was really nervous about it because I just wasn't sure. I'm not sure every author could do that, but a lot of authors have those skills to be really present on camera, and Mac nailed it. And so we're going to be doing more. I have a few coming up, few opportunities coming up that I'll email out about, and I think we can get more. So what we did at Cherry Valley was we set up an Eventbrite link so parents could purchase the books. In this case, we were able to get them signed. I don't know if we'll always have that opportunity, but then they could still sort of support the event by buying a book, and the kids got to see an author. And it was really, April, if you want to talk about on your side of things, it was pretty great, right?
Yeah, it was so much fun, and the kids were so excited. Their teacher told them to, we had asked the kids to send their questions to the teachers. So the teachers were kind of fielding the questions ahead of time, and then they called on a handful of students that the teachers asked them to, dress up, get dressed up. This is an important author coming. It was so sweet. I had one of my little 4th graders, he came to the author visit in his shirt and tie, and very serious about his question. And it went really well because the parents were able to order online and pick up their books at Copperfield's. So there was no contact at our site, which is what our district is asking for right now. So that piece went really, really smoothly, and the parents appreciated that opportunity. And it was nice to support Copperfield's too in that way. So it was great, of course.
We appreciate that. And I will say that, what Mac was talking about was Mac B. Kid Spy, his series about, he claims it's not fiction. He does claim that it's his memoir, or memoir, as he has children say it. But the fifth one features, I mean, it's, you know, you guys are all max age generally. And so all the things you remember growing up are featured in the book. This one happens to have Tetris. And so he played Tetris music for everybody, and also has New Kids on the Block. So he played New Kids on the Block music for everybody, and they were dancing like crazy. And then they've been following up with their parents and teachers, because I keep hearing about it, saying, hey, can we listen to New Kids on the Block? So it's a lot of fun. So you never know what you'll get out of an author visit. But
he is so good at improv too. He had one of the kids asked him if he really did know the Queen of England, and of course, because this is, as he claims, a true story, he says that he does know the Queen of England, and he pulls his phone out, and the Queen of England is calling him on his cell phone. It was hilarious. He's just.
I still don't know how. I don't know how he did that. He's like, Liz, oh, I can't. I'll take it later. You know, and the kids, you know, it's so fun because they know they're being pranked, and they are just all in. They're so happy about it. All right. So, oh, Nancy, you are close in age. So we're going to start talking about some books, and then Lisa, I just have to scroll through these backdrops real quick, but I think, Lisa, you win for the best backdrop and cocktail. Yeah, I'm giving it to you. Like I said, pretty casual. Last night, one of the teachers was sitting in, I think it was San Quentin. She had prison bars behind her. Pretty great. So we're going to start going through books, and at some point we're going to have another author who I'm very excited about, whom I've never met, is going to join us. So I'm going to begin. A couple of these we talked about last night, but I think they weren't talking about again. This is A Talk Like a River, which is written by Jordan Scott and illustrated by Sydney Smith, who did the book Small in the City last year. It's beautiful, and it's about a boy. You could use this at any age. It is about a boy who stutters, and how difficult his days are in school. His kids giggle at him and watch him talk and watch him struggle. And then his dad, after school, will take him down to the river and points out that the river itself is how he talks. It jumps and it burbles and it turns. And it's just, I mean, it's amazing. Just the illustrations alone are amazing, but it's so heartfelt. And when he stands finally and hears his father say that he talks like a river, and he imagines just how lovely that river would be, how smooth. It's amazing. I know I'm not doing a good job showing it, but I think everyone would benefit from this. I do think it's ironic that the young man who spoke at the Democratic convention, if you heard him, who stutters, who spoke to Joe Biden about how difficult it is, and that this book was coming out at the same time. But I think every classroom would benefit from this. Two more that we talked about last night. This is called Bear, and it's a large graphic novel about a guide dog, a companion dog. And there's enough to it that I showed it last night, but I think it's probably better for tonight's classes. And this dog who gets rattled, and he thinks he does a bad job. So he leaves his family and goes off to try and find things. But it just, I don't know, the dog is really lovely. The first day I had it, a little girl came in who was on the list to get a guide dog. And it just happened that I had it in my hand when she came in, and she and her dad sat down and read it. And it really resonated with everybody. So that is called Bear. And I will be sending out a list of all these books, so you don't have to write these things down. The next one that I really like, we talked about last night, it's called Slow Down, 50 Mindful Moments. And it just talks about how the pace at which we're going, we don't see the things that are all right around us. And so each spread talks about just one thing to observe. This is a bee pollinating a flower. This is a butterfly. Sorry. Just things that you can watch and observe. And it talks about all the things to look at in this really quiet tone. There's something about this book that it resonates with me. It is very gentle, and I feel like you can take a deep breath, and there aren't a lot of deep breaths these days. So I liked it, and I thought it'd be something you could start a day with, or you could ask kids to do at the end of their day, but it's very pretty and very solid. So this is Slow Down by Rachel Williams. So now we're going to jump into some books that are for your age group. Oh, I showed this last night too. Alice Crosdale liked this. I don't know how many of you saw Sleuth and Solve last year. They're logic puzzles for kids. So good. Well, the second one just came out. It's based on history. And they're just, kids are so great at these. It gives you a spread. It gives you a lot of observations about something that happened and then poses a question to you. And ultimately you can get the answer by flipping down the flap. But they're really thoughtful. And in doing some of them with kids in the store, I would be like, wait, how do you guys know that? And they'd kind of look at me as only a kid can, say, well, like the flag's upside down, of course this happened, or whatever. So it's really cool, and you could do all kinds of projects around these books, and encouraging kids to think outside the box. This has come out. All of you remember Front Desk? This is Three Keys. It's a sequel to Front Desk, following up with the same characters at the hotel that how many people read Front Desk in their class or know the book Front Desk? It's amazing. It's a book that caught on last year, and really I think it was a groundswell of kids reading it that brought it to attention. It's about a Chinese immigrant family who takes over a job running a hotel, and the 11-year-old has to work at the desk after school, which she really hates having to do. She's kind of embarrassed that she's doing it. And how badly treated the family is by the owners of the hotel. I mean, they have to repair things that break. They have to pay for things. They're talked down to. And the kids that I know who do not come from that background were so incensed that we could treat people that way, that it just sent the book off the charts. Like everybody loved it and read it. Go ahead. Nope. Okay. Anyway, this is the follow-up. So if you don't have Front Desk, you should. And then you should have this called Three Keys, which really deals a lot with, in 1980, 84 or 87, it deals with Pete Wilson and the Immigrants Act that he tried to put through when he was governor. And they talk about it a lot, like how people were treated because they were deemed foreign and they shouldn't be here. It's pretty amazing. But it deals with it at an appropriate age. So anyway, this is Three Keys by Kelly Yang. It is her story. She grew up with her family running a hotel, and she had to work the front desk. So it's not, it's fiction, but it's her story. So I like that. Are there any quick questions on that before we keep going? I don't want to I can't see all the screens, so. Okay. This one, how many people have seen this book this year? It's called From the Desk of Zoe Washington. It is phenomenal because as soon as, obviously we were closed for 3 months, and in the midst of that, there was the murder of George Floyd and all the demonstrations. And so we were pulling in all the books we could that we felt addressed the topics. And this is a girl who's living with her Black mom and her white stepdad, always has been. She never knew her birth dad. He was incarcerated before she was born. She has a great family. She loves to cook. She's trying to get on a cooking show. But in the meantime, she gets a birthday card, a 12th birthday card from her dad, whom she's never known and has never been encouraged to know. And she's like, why would I want to know him? He's in jail. Obviously, he's guilty. But as the story moves along, she starts investigating a little bit more and realizes he had a public defender who didn't show, who never followed up with his witnesses or his alibis. And she realizes that being in jail does not equate guilty. It just means that he maybe didn't have the representation he needs. But it keeps it at a really great young level. It's not too hard hitting. So it works for 4th and 5th grade. It's not difficult and gritty that you wouldn't want younger kids reading it. So we've sold a lot of these. I think it's great. It's called From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks. There was a book that we sold a couple years ago called Moxie, about how girls are treated in school in Texas. And it was a little bit more teen. This is probably a little bit more middle grade, but it is about girls who are constantly getting in trouble for wearing the wrong thing, the baggy thing, the too tight thing, the straps don't show, it's too long, and they realize how much it messes with their education, that they're constantly being singled out because they're supposedly making it difficult for boys. And the way they respond to it, it feels very believable, and their frustration with the patriarchy is legit.
Hi.
Hey, Kelly, can you mute your mic, please? And so I liked it. I was prepared to think it was kind of a knockoff of Moxie, but it feels like it has its own place on the shelf. It's not the same as that. So I liked it. Dress Coded by Carrie Firestone. And then I'm going to switch to this really quick. How many of you guys have kids that love like Mr. Lemoncello's Library or the Book Scavenger, some of the puzzly books? This is Chris Grabenstein, who writes Lemoncello. It's a whole book of puzzle-tastic mysteries. And it reminds me, I had to come up with one thing. It's probably like Encyclopedia Brown for big kids, because it sets up a mystery and it gives you some clues, and then the challenge is, can you solve it? And they don't give it to you right away. But the authors that are in here are just all sorts of best-selling young adult. I mean, Stu Gibbs and Bruce Hale and Peter Larangis, and it's a lot of fun. We pulled out a couple tonight. I was going to read them and quiz you. I don't think I will, but they're all about 4 pages long. So again, your reluctant readers could read one of them, and then it has, you know, after you get through it, it says, for the solution to the story, please turn to page 340. Well, you could have kids read it and not give them the solution and see how many different ways they could come up with stuff. It is really a lot of fun. So this is Super Puzzle-tastic Mysteries by Chris Grabenstein. And I think every kid will love it. I highly recommend it. So I almost drank my entire cocktail with John. So now I have to switch to tonic water. This is, so there was a book that came out a couple of years ago called Wolf Mountain by Lauren Wolk. And I thought it was really well done. And this is, she had one in between, which I liked, but this one is called Echo Mountain. And I mean, maybe it's COVID times, maybe it's, I'm not sure what it is that struck me so much, but basically it's post-depression, 1930, and the family has had to go to sort of homestead. They've lost their home in the big city, they've lost their jobs, and they are living on a piece of land in slightly better than a lean-to, and making their way as best they can. And the father has been injured, and so there's a mom and 2 kids, and our protagonist, who's 11 or 12, who is learning how to live off the land again, who's learning all the things that we have all forgotten how to do, because that's how the family's going to survive. And she's so, she's resourceful. It's not easy. It's not perfect. But I felt really heartened by reading this. Like, you can lose pretty much everything and find your way. And so I really liked it. And it left me feeling hopeful as opposed to dismal, which is my usual state these days. So highly recommend Echo Mountain by Lauren Wolf. It would be good for, I mean, there's a historical fiction aspect to it because it is set after the Depression, but it's also, it's just a good story of resiliency. We are going to switch over, just checking to see if anyone else has joined us yet. But no, okay. This came out, this is an in-between, but it's a perfect buddy book. This is called Skunk and Badger. It's by Amy Timberlake, illustrated by our favorite John Clausen. It's about Badger. He's a geologist. He loves rocks. He likes to be left alone. He lives in a house that his aunt let him live in. And one day Skunk shows up because the aunt also said he could live there, and it totally disrupts him. He doesn't get Skunk, and Skunk clearly doesn't get him, and he doesn't want to be interrupted. And Skunk's not bad. Skunk does have a lot of friends that are chickens, though, and that kind of is a difficult thing. But it's illustrated inside. There's a lot of information about rocks. There are some color plates, and it's just such a good read. There he is working at his desk alone, the way he likes to be in his home with nobody bothering him. It's very Frog and Toad-ish, you know, but so well written. Anyway, it's very, very good. Skunk and Badger by Amy Timberlake. How many of you had kids who really liked The War That Saved My Life, or The War I Finally Won? Yeah. So she has come out with a new book called Fighting Words. And this is, It's very good. It's right on the edge of being not for middle grade and more for high school, but it is intended for middle grade. And it's about a couple of sisters who live with their mom, who's in pretty bad shape as far as drug use and drinking, and her mom's boyfriend, who is, although they never talk about it, clearly one of the girls is being molested. And it follows her story as she tries to protect, the older sister tries to protect the middle, and the middle is protecting the younger. None of them are talking to one another, and they don't know what to do for help. And it's an important book. It is. You won't be able to put it down. But it's a story of surviving and of being strong in a tough situation. And I thought it was astounding. So Fighting Words by Kimberly Bradley. You probably, I don't know, you would be the judges of that as to what's appropriate and what's not. Probably 6th grade and up. We would keep it in our junior high section. But nothing is too graphic. That there's no question, as the adult reading the book, you're like, ooh, this is bad. This sounds bad. And they don't really let you know what's going on until almost the end. And the girls do get help and things do get resolved, but it's a good book. Casey, you would like this one. Fighting Words. Switching over to, this book. One of my favorite books all year. This is called The Time of Green Magic. Hilary McKay, who writes this book, is one of my favorite authors. She just has one of those ways in all the books she writes of building a family that's believable and that you also would love to live with. You know, they're kind, they're not perfect, they're slightly disheveled, I don't know. So this girl and her family finally have the money to move into a home, to buy a home. And it's this beautiful old home and it's covered with ivy. And the ivy has just a tendril of magic that comes through the story, maybe a little bit dark. But not so much that it totally rips you out of it feeling like it could be happening right now. It's evocative and smart, and it will be one of my big Christmas picks for the store. And I just couldn't recommend it more. The Time of Green Magic. Now, I feel like I should ask you guys to talk or something. It's like bleh, bleh, all the time. Sorry.
Cheers.
Patty, we know how you feel.
I know you do. I know the last persons I should be complaining to is teachers who have to do this all day, but it does feel weird. And now there's no one else in the store. And so I'm just like, I don't know, but you guys are great. I'm sure you all know that.
The thing about this is that kids are finding love of books and love of reading more so than in the last 10 years, because that's what they're doing. And so
Yeah.
I'm encouraged.
And they're tired of screens, right? I mean,
So
yeah.
are, and so am I. But I love all these books.
Okay, good. There is a new dog man. I want you guys to know, I said this last night too, Dave Pilkey and his wife, who are weathering this crisis in Japan, email about every 2 weeks to see how Petaluma is. They like our town and they like us. Oh, and you know who I heard from tonight? This is a good one. There's a high school book that I really love by Jandy Nelson. She wrote The Sky is Everywhere. And it's a beautifully written book. And I saw today that is going to be a movie with one of the adult roles being played by Jason Segel. So I texted him and said, congratulations, that's a great book. And he wrote right back and he said, I miss you guys. I think that's kind of a stretch to think he really misses us, but it was pretty sweet. And he's going to be filming up in Humboldt. So I said, you know, Petaluma is not that far away. Come and see us. Getting into some graphic novels. Oh, I don't know if this is triggering or not. This is the latest I Survived book, and it's about surviving the wildfires. So I don't know if kids want to read that right now or not, because in some cases it's way too close for comfort, but it is out in paper. We can get it in hardcover. So you know, it's set on the 2018 wildfires. So that was that Paradise? I think that was the Paradise fires. This, I think, may be on the National Book Award. It's on the long list. I bet it'll make it on the short list. This is called When Stars Are Scattered. It's by the author of Roller Girl and All's Fair in Middle School. And she wrote this, Victoria Jameson wrote this with Omar Mohammed, who grew up in a refugee camp. And it is really the story of he and his brother in a refugee camp. Their parents didn't make it with them. It's their story of how they survived, and it's true. So at the end, you meet him, and it's all the things that he had to deal with. And again, it makes having to stay home and watch Netflix because we can't go outside feel pretty cush. So I'd like it anyway, but I also like how much it corrected my "oh poor me" school of thought back in April when I first read it. I was like, we got this. This is fine. If people can deal with this on a daily basis and still are, we can certainly manage it ourselves. So highly recommend this for all ages. There's nothing super inappropriate with it. It's just, it's going to work. Everyone's going to pull what they need from it. Hey, and just a shout out to our amazing Zoom coordinator, Jamie. Jamie, if you see our other author come on, will you flag me and let me know? I'm going to take that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys, Jamie works in our main office and has been hosting our adult online Zoom events and is just astoundingly calm and making everything work for us. And last night, Zoom failed us about an hour before we went on. We lost our entire account. And Jamie's like, oh, we got this. It's cool. So thanks, Jamie. There are some great graphic novels that have come out. I want to let you know that the sequel to New Kid comes out in 2 weeks. I don't know if it's next week or the following week. If it's next week, I'll have it here when you shop. But this won the Newbery last year about being new and other in a school of mostly white kids. And the sequel is going to come out, and I think it will be equally as good. This is our graphic novel section. If you don't have New Kid in your collection, you also should. These I Survived books are now coming as graphic novels as well. So we have I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916, and I Survived the Sinking of the Titanic. And the kids have liked them. I mean, they like the I Survived books enough anyway that it's going to be interesting to see how far they go with these because they're a ton of work, I would say. But they picked two of the biggest and most popular I Survived books to try this with. And for those kids who might really enjoy the graphic version of those scary historical moments, these are great. These are great. They're here in the store. Then this came out as we were closed, but I really liked it. It's called Trespassers. It's a graphic novel. It's a mystery. This girl and her family are up in the mountains on vacation. There's an abandoned but lovely home nearby. She and sort of a mean girl in the neighborhood kind of getting cahoots together, thinking that perhaps there was a murder there. And so they start investigating it. It's just a fun way to have a murder mystery presented to you, because I think one thing I've found for me in COVID times is that mysteries have been kind of appealing. Like it's been fun to get kind of lost in a whodunit, because some things I can't read right now. And so I think kids are finding the same thing. I've had more requests for Nancy Drew, for other mystery books. And so I was kind of looking for things that could work with that. This is another graphic novel called 1 Year at Ellesmere. And it's a little bit, I mean, there's a little bit of mystery to it. And it reminds me a little bit of a graphic version of Harriet the Spy for slightly older kids. And it was fun. And you can kind of get lost in the story. So I think that maybe kids are finding the same thing. And we sure aren't selling nearly as much in the way of dystopian fiction. Like nobody needs that anymore. They're living it. So that's one. This, for all your fans of...
Hey, Patty, just a heads up. I think our special guest just arrived. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very nice. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to switch over and tell you that we have, the best book, her new book. All of her books are good. And the four that I have here, some of you will recognize. We have House Arrest. The sequel to House Arrest, which was called Knockout. This lovely book, Redwood and Ponytail, which if you don't have, is such a good book and should be on every shelf. But her new book is just phenomenal. How many of you know one or two kids that might like playing Minecraft? Thank you. Okay, so this is about 4 kids and their teacher griefer. So if she is here, and Carrie, if you have actually truly joined us, if you want to turn on your mic, and I'd like to introduce you to some of the finest teachers in all of the North County of Petaluma and Santa Rosa. And you guys, this is Carrie Holt.
I'm here. Hello.
Hey, Carrie, you and I have never met before. So
We've
hi.
not. Hi.
Nice to see you. I love Ben B. Like, I read it 2 times in a row because it just made me so happy. Folks, it's really, the format is going to grab all those kids who don't like to read, don't want to see a big page of type. But I'm going to let Carrie tell you a little bit about it more than I.
All right. Yeah, I remembered to bring a copy with me to the Zoom. This is the first time in all of the Zooms I've done. So Ben B and the Teacher Griefer is different than the other books that I've written because it's told in 4 points of view. And that was a tricky thing that I was worried for a minute that I had bit off more than I could chew when I started writing this. But then as I started to get to know the characters, it really, I don't know, it was really fun. This is the most fun I have had writing a book. And I think this might be the funniest book that I've ever written. But I don't want you to think that that means it doesn't have that kind of like heartfelt angst that the other books have, because it's totally still like a laugh on one page and also cry on the same page kind of a book. Basically what it's about, there are these 4 kids and they live in Florida, and they had to take a standardized test, as all kids do these days. And these kids failed the reading portion of the standardized test. And they call it the FART, the test. It's really the Florida academic something test, but they transpose the letters and they all call it the FART. So they failed the FART and they're in summer school. It's the summer before 7th grade. These kids have nothing in common with each other other than failing the test. And they're sort of thrust into this class. And they discover after the first few days that they all share a love of this game called Sandbox. And Sandbox is a lot like Minecraft. And for them, they feel like when they play Sandbox, they are successful in their lives. They feel like they can do anything. A mistake in Sandbox is really an invention. It's like something that you build upon. It's not like a mistake in school. It's not like failing a test. If you try to make something in Sandbox and you fail, instead of having a waterfall, you have a chicken fall. And then you just deal with the chicken fall and you build from there. So you meet Ben B, that's his character name in the game. And Ben B, his parents have him in like every kind of after school activity. They're constantly trying to get him to be better at what he does. He's never going to be good at school. He's never going to be good at reading. Those are things that he feels, but he's really good at Sandbox. And then there's Ben Y. And Ben Y is a girl who is figuring out kind of where she lands on the gender continuum. She's dealing with some grief. She also loves to play Sandbox. And so you get Ben Y. And Ben B and Ben Y, both of their points of view are told in free verse. And then you meet Jordan. And Jordan J. Mageddon, 4 exclamation points. Jordan speaks in stream of consciousness. His chapters are all kind of block paragraphs. I still think of them as poetry, but it really is like stream of consciousness. You're getting everything that Jordan is thinking right when Jordan is thinking it. Jordan has big feelings. Jordan is really good at Sandbox too. He's not great at reading, but he wants everyone to be friends. And then we meet Javier. And Javier has just moved to Florida from Texas. He doesn't really know anyone. He hasn't taken the standardized test, which is why he's in this class. It's not that he failed this, but he didn't take it. He has a stuttering, I don't know, he's afraid to talk out loud in class. And so he communicates via drawings. The drawings are drawings that I did. I sent them in to my my editor and I was like, these are ideas that I have for some of the Javier illustrations. And she said, these look exactly like a 7th grade boy would draw. So we're just going to keep yours. Can you make more of them? So it's the first time I ever illustrated anything. And Javier is he really observes things. He's telling you how he sees the other kids, how he sees their teacher, and their teacher, Ms. J, wants to emphasize to them that they are not stupid because they failed this test. They are not dumb kids. They are divergent learners, every single one of them. Just because they might have dysgraphia or dyslexia or anxiety or whatever it is that's causing them trouble, it does not make them dumb. It just means that they see the world in a different way. And if they can learn that this divergence that they all share is something that can be celebrated rather than punished, then they will feel more successful in the real life and not just in sandbox. The problem is that they don't believe her, right? They don't believe this grown-up who's telling them this. And so she's constantly trying to get them to read out loud in class. They will not do it. So they make a deal where she says, fine, I will play 10 minutes of sandbox with all of you at the end of class every day if you will read out loud for 10 minutes. So they make this deal. And she makes them type in the chat. They can't speak out loud when they're playing sandbox, so they're learning typing skills. She learns that sandbox is not just a goofy video game. She begins to see how successful they feel in this game, and that changes her perspective on how she teaches them. They see how she starts to love to play this game, and that changes their perspective on their teacher. So there's a lot of kind of crisscrossy stuff going on. We get video game chat in the book. We have free verse. We have stream of consciousness. We have illustrations. It's a book for everyone. It will make you laugh. It will make you cry. It's better than cats.
It's Carrie, I let Taylor know, and you guys, full disclosure, this is a book that Taylor edited. So why I was so happy to get my hands on it, because I'd heard so much about Denby, and then the fact that I loved it so much. Because I mean, honestly, I don't always love everything Taylor does, just so you know. Don't tell her. But I had a kid in the store last week or 2 weeks ago, and Tate may have shared this with you, Carrie, but he didn't want a book. All he wanted was a Minecraft book on, game hacks. And he went right to the Minecraft section. His mom's like, I cannot get him to read. It's like, you into Minecraft? He's like, yeah. And then he started giving me, I'm like, well, I've never played it. He says, you haven't? Okay. First of all, I mean, seriously, he was probably Jordan. He's like, you need to download. Okay, first of all, you want Java here, write this down. He's giving me like all this information on what game I should play first and how I should get started and try it in the training mode and don't be discouraged. It was like, I felt he stepped out of your book. I said, I'm telling you about this book that's coming out. I said, they don't call it Minecraft. They call it Sandbox, but it is really, I think you'd like it. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So I brought it out from the back and he saw it and he flipped it open. He's like, Mom, we have to get this. Like, when does it go on sale? I said, well, not until next Tuesday. He's like, we have to come back. She's like, oh, I mean, yeah, we will. And he was just like, he couldn't put it down. And I was like, just take it. I will figure out a way, because we're not supposed to sell it before the on sale date. So I don't know what I did in the register, but I figured it out so they could take it that day. And he floated out of the store. He was so happy to have a book that recognized him and that he would understand the storyline going in. Like, he didn't have to figure out who anybody was. He got it. And there's about 300 million other kids like that.
I love that so much. That's why I write these books, because these are the kids that don't see themselves as main characters in books. How many books are about kids who play video games and don't like to read, or kids who fail tests in class and all that? Like, I like to, trick them and lure them in, and then have them email me and say, oh my gosh, I thought I hated books and I read your book and I didn't actually hate it.
And do you have a son that plays Minecraft? Is that right?
I do, actually. And this book was inspired by Isaac last summer, because he just would not read a book and he was constantly playing video games. And I was like, oh dude, the screens, you're killing me with the screens. And he was like, no, Mom, just come and see the games. And so we made a deal that for every 30 minutes he read, I would play 30 minutes of video games. So I learned how to play Skyrim, I learned Minecraft, I learned Overwatch. And he read a lot of graphic novels, and he read my books. He read House Arrest, he read Rhyme Schemer, and it was really cool and fun. And we had this nice kind of bonding summer. And I learned, like, really, his playing Minecraft is not a waste of time. Like, he really loves it. And I started buying him architecture books for his birthday and for Christmas. And like, he's really good at, creating these cities and these buildings and things. So I mean, I might have learned more than he did, actually.
And it is funny seeing the kids that are good at that, because I've been talking to other kids in the store now too, and they're so eager to share what they know. Like they really
Oh, yeah.
want to bring you along, so it's very heartening. Do you lovely teachers have some questions? Because I could talk to Carrie all night, because I always am selling this book to other reluctant readers because it's so amazing. It's so fun to upsell. But what else what else would you guys like to know from this lovely person? And will you do author visits? Yeah, I'm sure we can probably figure that out one way or another. She loves, oh yes, Krista loves that you're wearing your Ray Bradbury shirt, by the way.
Oh yeah, right.
What else have you got, folks? What's next for you? Are you doing other books?
I am actually this is the first in a series of 4 books. Each of the kids will have their own book.
Really?
So yeah, I just finished Ben Y's book, which might be called Ben Y and the Ghost in the Machine, but I don't know. We have not gotten that approved by marketing yet. And then I think Jordan will have his book, and then Javier. And I'm working on one more book that's a Scholastic Book Fair book that's called Lockdown. And that one hasn't been announced yet, so, but hopefully it'll be out in 2021. So yeah, busy.
I love that I get to read more about those characters. I like them so much.
It has been so much fun, like writing Ben Y's story and just knowing that Jordan's story is on the horizon. That's like my carrot for finishing Ben Y.
And are they stories that overlap in the timeline, or are they sequential? Like,
they do overlap. The idea is that Ben V is it's probably going to be easiest if you read Ben V first, and then the other ones will be companions. But I think, at least the way that I framed Ben Y, if you pick that up first and then read Ben V, it'll still make sense. The idea is that they're all companions. It's kind of like the track series, Jason Reynolds track series.
Yeah. So meet the first characters first, and then go off.
Right.
So I have a couple of comments here for you. Meredith's 9-year-old wants to know if it is appropriate for his age group. I would say
100%. Yes.
Absolutely. And Nancy Osmond would like to know, are all 4 books going to be written in the same style as Ben B, with the 4 voices? Or when you go off, will the next ones be?
Yeah, so right now, Ben Y is predominantly free verse, but like when Ben Y and Jordan are talking, Jordan's sections are still in his like stream of consciousness. So you'll see, like she'll talk to him, and then you'll see his whole long running thing. It's not broken up into different point of view chapters. It's really all Ben Y's point of view, but the way that the other kids talk to each other is going to stay the same. So you see like little snippets of Javier drawings in Ben Y's story, and then kind of everything just gets blown out in their own story. So Javier's will be mostly illustrations, and I don't know exactly how we're going to deal with Jordan's, because I don't know that people can read that, like that many words on a page is not optimal for my audience. So we're going to figure that out. But yeah, you'll be able to figure it out.
Well, and as I started it, I thought, okay, I've got to keep all these characters, like, whose voice is this? But it really became so apparent so quickly who was talking that you never lose the thread. So I think even for somebody who's not a super secure reader, that you've got them. Because I mean, some books when they jump around like that, you can be like, who's talking? But yeah, I think they'll be great.
Yeah, that's good. Taylor and I worked really hard on that.
But she loves this book. Like, it was amazing. She's a huge fan, obviously. Vanessa says, I just want Carrie to know how life-changing the book House Arrest is for any of my students who read it. It is the amazing power of teaching empathy in a time when empathy is so critical. And Lori Lutz seconded that comment, which is true. It is a very fun book to sell, because I know that people will always get out of it what they're supposed to get out of it. Shireen Jackson wants to know if there are other fart jokes in Ben B, because her sons love farts.
There are so many fart jokes that I was afraid we would have to take them out. I'm continually afraid that the Scholastic Book Fairs will not buy rights to it because of all the fart jokes, but we left them in anyway. If they won't do it, too bad. You can just
Exactly. They're a lot.
buy it without them.
They'll just have Copperfield's book fairs, which are far more selective
Perfect.
and have so, other people chiming in, definitely saying that everybody loves House Arrest and Knockout and how successful they are for everyone. And just Tara Hazen, who's at the junior high, wants to know if you always wanted to be a writer. Did anyone support or inspire you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I was writing little stories when I was in like first grade on my grandpa's typewriter, just trying so hard to write. And then I forgot, I think, that I wanted to be a writer once I got to college. I didn't really think that being a writer was like a self-sustaining kind of a profession unless it was in advertising or something like that. So that's what I ended up doing. My major was art history, and my junior year, I took a playwriting class and I loved it. And my professor was like, have you ever thought about writing for television? You should think about moving to Los Angeles. And I was too wimpy to do it. But I did suddenly believe maybe I could make a go at being a writer. So I talked my way into an advertising job after I graduated. And I wrote radio ads for jewelry stores. And it was a terrible job that I hated a lot. And I was like, I have to keep writing, but what else can I do? And so I tried to write a book. I was going to write The Great American Novel. And The Voice of a 12-Year-Old came out. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm going to see what else I can write. And so I kept writing, and it kept being the voice of a 12-year-old. And so I was like, man, I'm going to go back and, read some Judy Blume and read some Louise Fitzhugh and see if I can make a go at this. And it worked. I've been very fortunate.
What are some of your other titles pre Chronicle and Taylor? Because I should be talking about more than just those.
I have a couple of sci-fi books that I wrote back in the day. So Mike Steller, Nerves of Steel was the very first book that I wrote. I snuck a little poetry in it, but it's not written in free verse. It's a prose novel. And then I wrote Brains for Lunch, a zombie novel written in haiku that was illustrated by Gayan Wilson. And that's a book, you either love that book or you hate that book. That's a 1-star or a 5-star. And, and it's about to go out of print. I tell people, like, read it. If you hate it, it does not hurt my feelings. Just let me know. I'm so curious what people think about that one. And then Nomageddon is another kind of love letter to nerds and geeks everywhere. Red Moon Rising was kind of my girl power sci-fi set on a red moon with dragons. From You to Me is a book that I wrote that it's a very short, concise book about the grief that you feel as a child when you lose someone who's very close to you. The main character has lost her sister. And so she kind of goes through the stages of grief in this book. And it's a really funny one too. It has a lot of food puns and stuff, but it's kind of heart-wrenching at the same time. That's and then I've got all my Chronicle works, starting with Rhyme Schemer on. Taylor titled Rhyme Schemer.
Oh,
I think,
didn't know that.
yeah, I think that she was, she might have been an intern then for my editor, and we could not come up with a title for that book. And so I got an email one day and it was like, Taylor thinks that Rhyme Schemer would be a good title. And I was like, what? And then here we are.
And that's another one of the books that actually is true. I don't have it in the stack, but it's so clever and it's so cool. And I know some librarians worried that their libraries would be defaced. I don't think that ever really happened, but it's just another way to make kids feel comfortable with a book. They don't have to be these great literary tomes. They can be really that came out, and it was after Wreck This Book had been out for a few years, but it had that same feel, like this is a thing you can interact with. And so, yeah, I thought it was great. I'll try and have those in stock next week when you guys shop too. Any further questions before we let Carrie go back? You're in Texas, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, we're watching a lot of Top Chef, my kids and I. So they're all in there catching up with the old Top Chefs while they wait for me to be done.
Well, I know I already have requests for you to do school visits, so I will be in touch with Eva at Chronicle to see if we can get you for a school here or there.
Oh yeah, let me know. Cause I, in fact, if you go to kaholt.com/visits, I just put up a whole new thing about virtual visits and what I'm trying to do with those. So take a look and see if we can make something work.
Awesome. Any last questions? Everyone is excited and inspired. Apparently everyone loves you.
I love you all too.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys.
Good evening.
Good
Nice to
night.
meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
She's amazing. Her book is amazing. So that is one that I rarely have time to read a book twice, but I enjoyed it so much and I like the characters so much and they're so empathetic and kind with each other, but also believable. So highly recommend. And you're all teacher griefers. So there you go. Let's see what else we have that we haven't talked about. I was talking about Stepping Stones for all the Raina Telgemeier fans. It has the same feel. It is not by Raina, but it is a good book about stepsisters who have to figure out how to navigate their new life together. And it's not always easy, but it's a good one. I liked it a lot. This, Mike Corrado is a picture book illustrator, and this is his book called Flamer. And it's about a Boy Scout camp. And it's his story, as Hey Kiddo was last year for Jarrett Kroshka. This is Mike's story of growing up, being Catholic, being a Boy Scout, being at Boy Scout camp, and realizing he's probably gay. And they just do a really good job with it. Like it goes through, I mean, it's called Flamer because unfortunately his troop name, or whatever you call it in Boy Scouts, they're the Flaming Arrows. And he's not really attracted to other guys. He just is realizing as he's around all these guys and being kind of the cool dude and all that, that is really not who he is either. I think he did a great job with it. There's one scene at the end that could conceivably be triggering. He's so despondent. He's made kind of a gesture towards a boy he realizes he was really attracted to, and it doesn't go well. And so he goes to the Boy Scout chapel and really thinks a lot about taking his life. And then he has kind of an epiphany. I think maybe an angel gets involved. So, I mean, it could get to where people would not be comfortable with this in certain situations, but it is his story. And this really did happen. And he realizes that taking his life would be a completely wrong thing to do, both with his religion and with his own life. He's not ready to be done. He's just so tired of feeling in pain. So generally, I think they deal with it really well. I would say take a look at that one section and see if you think it would work for your school. But it was a worthy read. As Taylor always asks me, she's like, well, did you finish it? Which is the question, because I don't always finish books. Go with the flow. If you don't have this in your collection, every kid who's female at birth who's going to have a period should probably read this, because these girls they get very ticked off that 51% of the population has periods, and yet it's still a giggle weird thing that people get uncomfortable about, and that they giggle in school if one girl, she's wearing white pants and she gets her period that day, and then in the bathrooms there's never any supplies, and and they're kind of incensed. They're very self-righteous, like this is nature. So it's very well done. I think everyone should have it, because boys are reading it too. I'm watching them in the stores and they're picking it up and taking it out with them. So, or at least taking it out of the section. They're probably not buying it. That would be a bit of a stretch.
Tampons are still being taxed.
I beg your pardon?
I said tampons are still being taxed.
Oh, give me a freaking break. It's so absurd. I know. We have quite a collection of books that we grabbed after the murder of George Floyd. We have displays up of books we think are worthy. So there are a lot of choices in here. And so I'm not going to talk about them all tonight, because there are so many and they're all so good. But I'm going to show you a couple. This is called Black Brother, Black Brother. And the setup is that they're biracial brothers who are attending middle school, maybe high school. One presents black, one presents white. One is very fair, one is very dark. And their treatment is so different. And it's just the best, simplest way to draw this parallel for kids to see what that would be like. Like the one brother who looks white is, he's kind of a jock and he kind of does stupid stuff. And they're always like, oh, you're such a jock. And the black brother, when he gets frustrated, when he gets, and he does poorly on a test and he is angry about it, they call the police, you know, and they, rather than calling his parents. His dad is white, his mom is black, his mom's an attorney, his dad is, you know, some good job, and the mom is petrified that he could end up being another one of these, you know, Trayvon Martin or anybody else. And so it might sound like a contrived storyline, but it's really not. It's just such a good way to show how that would be and how unfair it is in a society. So this is, I actually had thought it was a reissue, and it is brand new by Jewel Parker Rhodes, who's done so many other good books. And I highly recommend it. Dear Martin, which is by Nick Stone. It's about a boy who's trying to navigate being a young man who's Black, and he writes letters to Martin Luther King to try and talk through the things that he's dealing with. And he's just a really good character. He's a really sympathetic character, and he does get in some trouble, but he does figure things out. And the sequel is coming out also next week, which is called Dear Justice. And that is a friend of his who appears in this book. But it does make you, they illustrate so clearly and pretty shortly how difficult it is. It gives you a great insight into the challenges that are faced by anybody who's not, with apologies to all who are listening, a white Christian man. I mean, it's tough to be a teenager of color, tough to be a teenager who's gay, and being able to find yourself in a book, including being a gamer, I think is so important. So anyway, I have these and plenty more, but those are the real standouts that would go up through middle school. There are some other ones for high school. And I can talk, do we have any high school people that want to hear a couple of high school books? Yeah, okay. There's a new book by, let me grab it. Here, look at my backdrop, which is legit. I'll be right back. I was going to have this Zoom call also on my cell phone so I could walk you around the bookstore, because when we were really closed, the month of March, the end of March and most of April, we were completely closed, but people were messaging me and saying, I really need to get some books. And so I'd sneak into the bookstore and FaceTime with them so they could pick out books and puzzles and then drop them off at their house. Every afternoon at 5, my husband would pick me up with our puppy in the car. We would drive all over Petaluma, and I swear both my husband and the puppies still miss it. They're like, that was so fun. So anyway, I was going to walk you around the store, but I'm too lazy. Okay, David Levithan is the editor of this by Bill Konigsberg. This is called The Bridge. It's a story told in 4 parts, and it opens with 2 kids on the Brooklyn Bridge. Both are considering taking their lives. And we're following the boy at the beginning, and he sees the girl jump. And he doesn't. He's stunned by what he sees, and he realizes how close he came to making the same bad move. And so it follows his story for a while. And then the second section is the girl, and she sees the boy jump. So we follow her story, and the aftermath, you know, and they start, you know, connected people and how they respond to it. And in the third section, they both jump. And in the 4th section, neither one jumps. Bill Konigsberg, I sat in on a meeting with him last week, and he attempted to take his life when he was 26. And he was very careful in working with people on this book so that it would not be triggering. I always worry about any issues book that it could be triggering, but it felt more empowering than just, they spent a lot of time investigating what it would be like for everyone after that happened. And in all cases, they all are regretting their actions. I mean, anyway, it's a stunning book. I hope people will check it out, and I think it will introduce a lot of conversation. The boy character, the teen boy character, is dealing with extreme depression. And he has the best dad. I mean, they really are trying to figure it out. He just can't get through his self view to save himself. And the girl is just emotionally neglected. Not just, that's a real thing too, but it was quite a book. So anyway, that's called The Bridge. This is by Evie Zaboy, called Punching the Air. And this is another free verse book about a teen who is incarcerated unfairly and trying to work his way out. Again, you just want to apologize to anyone you've ever met, because the system is so rigged against so many people. And this book illustrates it really well. It's beautifully done. I have a bunch of signed copies from Evie. This, Reese Witherspoon doesn't mess around. She also now has a YA book club. This is the new YA book club book for her. It's called Furia, and it just came out, and I have not read it, but it looks good. It's on my stack of books to go home and take a look at. But all the reviews have been really good. So I'm hoping that this is a worthy read. And then this one is called How It All Blew Up, and it just came out today. Again, I have not read it. The reviews have been amazing. Angie Thomas, who's written so many great books, who wrote The Hate You Give, came out and talked about it this week. And so this would be another one to take a look at. It's by Arvin Ahmadi. He's written one other book before this. Man, I've been talking nonstop. Does anybody have any questions? Because there might be other things you'd like me to talk about.
Oh, Patty, I just had a quick question. Is Ben Konigsberg, is he related to EL?
It's a really good question, and I've always wondered that, and I honestly don't know, but I'll find out. I'm curious too. I should have asked him. I kind of think not.
Has he spoken before?
He has spoken. I met up with him and David Levithan last week to hear more about this book. And most of his books, the main character, he is gay, and often his main character is gay. And he has at least 2 other books, but I think he's written a lot more than that. And he's won all kinds of awards. And he's, even in this book, it's so sweet because the young man who's gay and his dad, who's the coolest dad, they're funny. They're funny, likable characters, and it makes you feel that much more for them that they're struggling with this depressive point of time. So yeah, it's very good. What else? What else can I tell you? Anything you feel like we didn't talk about? All of these books will be here next week, and probably lots more that I forgot to tell you about.
Patty, can you remind me, or maybe all of us, what time and day?
Yeah, you would have signed up for a shopping night that would be either Monday the 28th or Wednesday the 30th. And I've plugged you in for those nights. We have capacity issues here that are COVID related, so we can only let so many people in the store at a time. That's why we're opening in the evenings just for you guys. We will have free stuff. Believe me, we've got lots of advanced copies to give out. So you will be signed up for the day that you said. Monday night, if you haven't signed up for a night yet, Monday night is full. And so we're moving people now or having people sign up for Wednesday night, the 30th. If we roll over and that gets too full, we'll have to add another night. I will have the books spread out so you can shop and stay separate, and we'll make it as comfortable as possible. And again, if you're not comfortable coming to the store and you get the list of books from me and you want to get some of them, you can certainly buy them over the phone with your teacher discount and pick them up curbside. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to come into the store, but it's fun for us if you come into the store because I like seeing you.
Will you be, Patty, will you be emailing us what day because I don't remember.
Yes, I will send out a confirmation again. And if you're not on one of them, then if you signed up for this, so I should have had an email from you. So if you don't hear from me and you're curious, message me and I'll straighten it out. But I will send out all of these books in addition to all of the books we talked about last night on a spreadsheet, and then information on book fairs, on money for schools, on the possibility of author visits, which I'd love to do more of. And then we'll figure out, if you're not on the list for one of the nights, we'll figure out a time for you. I am still doing my nonprofit that I started last year, which is called the Bookstormer Foundation, because if you aren't aware of it, I found that if I was going to schools with authors, the kids that needed books the most weren't getting them because, first of all, they didn't have the money to buy them. And secondly, because when a publisher gives me an author, at the end of the day, they want to see book sales. I mean, that's their goal, is the books get out there. And so I would always try and work in at least one Title I school with a couple of high-end schools. So at the end of the day, we balanced enough that we had reportable sales that made the publisher happy. So we'd keep getting big authors. But it dawned on me that was leaving us all feeling a bit empty. And so I started a foundation. So when we go to a Title I school, we literally buy every kid in the presentation a copy of the book. And it's been really great. Some of you, we've done it at your schools, and it's stunning. It's one of those things that, like, we had a 12-year-old at one of the first schools we did this at, and she said, this is my first book. I've never owned a book before. And, you know, we, as educators, as booksellers, as people who love books, we take for granted that people have books. And I know we all know logically that they don't, but boy, it was something. So I will be doing some Bookstormer visits too. If you are a Title I school and you would like to see about us making that work at one of your schools, email me and I'll put it, we have a spreadsheet of Title Is that have requested author visits. Quite honestly, it may be easier this year because we're doing everything virtually. We'll have to think about how we would get books to your kids, but I am still leading that charge to make sure the kids that need them most get them.
We got a couple questions here, Patty.
Yes, thank you, Jeannie. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Ginny's wondering if there are any other graphic novel recs you have for high schoolers.
Oh, there's so many good high school ones. I can go and grab a couple to show them to you. And we have we just expanded, the graphic novel section is getting bigger week by week. And so there's a whole lot of books for teens. And I'll talk to high school books next week. I know what I'm saying. Let's see, I'm just looking down the list of books before I go grab some of the list of questions. New teacher stickers. I see that Amber, our manager, has joined us. So lovely, Amber. Will we be putting new stickers on the teacher ID cards? What do you think?
I'm not sure if we're getting them. The couple that we have updated already, we've just written 2021, like the very high-tech people we are. But I will know the answer to that tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll be able to tell you next week. Bring your cards with you. I mean, we're so fortunate that you guys shop here, that we know a lot of you. And if we don't know you, we can always look you up at your school website. You know, so if there's any question as to whether or not you're a teacher, we'll give you a card because we can find you online. But yeah, it wouldn't be that hard to make, Amber, we can always use Sharpies. Let me go grab a couple of graphic novels. Talk amongst yourselves.
I can't wait to touch all the books. You guys?
Yes.
And have a private shopping night at Copperfield's. That's fancy.
Bougie.
So funny.
Very exclusive.
I heard that. I didn't really. And somebody very sweet said, we did use Sharpies last year, said, can you donate to my foundation? Sure. I'll send you the link. Oh, Amber, you want to send the link while I'm talking about these? It's bookstormerfoundation.com. I'm going to put it in the notes.
I can do that. Maybe. I'm not techie. I'll do it.
Maybe you can do it too. This is called the Montague Twins. It's kind of a teen, I don't know, they're slightly superheroes, but mostly Hardy Boys. And they solve mysteries. And they've got like a guy, it's not their dad, but he's like the uncle or the head of their mystery solving group. And it was really fun and slightly edgy, slightly weird. This first one is called The Witch's Hand, but there will be more. This is going to be a series. And Amber, if you think I should grab anything graphic-wise, teen graphic-wise, holler. Camp Spirit just came out yesterday. edgy and fun. The reviews have been really good. I have not read this one yet, but I've heard a lot from the reps about it that they like it. It's teen girls. This was beautiful. This is actually, it's called You Brought Me the Ocean, and by Alex Sanchez, who's won the Lambda Awards. Just a really lovely relationship book between two young men. It was very pretty and very, very moving. And then this is, I feel like this is same storyline. This just came out today called Heartstopper. But there are some amazing graphic novels, even a Ruth Bader Ginsburg graphic novel. So we can find something for everybody in the world of graphics. Thank you very much, Amber. That was amazing. Amber shared that link for you. You guys are all amazing. And I feel like I've talked long enough. I said we'd wind up by 7:30. It's 7:26. We'll have so many books for you next week. We've been getting a few purchase orders. So if you're going to shop with a purchase order, that's great. However you want to shop next week, we'll give you a good discount. You can shop on anything. It doesn't have to be for school. You can buy stationery or puppets and hats. But if we don't have something in that you need, we'll get it for you. If you need hardcover copies, we can get those for you. We'll have a lot of giveaways, a lot more good ideas. We won't have cocktails. Sorry about that. But, or if we do, we won't tell Amber. But you guys are great. And I did, after sitting in with April last week and watching what you have to do, it makes me kind of want to weep for what kids aren't getting and weep for what you're not able to do, which is interact with them on a one-on-one basis the way you normally would. But the fact that you're still doing such amazing things, and kids are bouncing into the store after school, just like normal. Like if you squint, it feels like things haven't changed. So obviously you're sending the right messages to all of them. So thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week. We'll send out what we need. If you don't hear from me and you don't get a question answered, email me. And Amber or I will answer it. And a huge thank you to Jamie Madsen, our coordinator.
Oh, Patty, you're the best. Anytime.
Yay, Jamie.
It's a group effort. Thanks for supporting Copperfield. You guys go have another cocktail and watch, I don't know, like a rerun of The Office. That's my go-to these days.
The 9-9.
Thank you all of you at Copperfields for taking the time and the effort to modify and make this happen.
Oh, absolutely. It's fun. It's important. And we love seeing you guys. Oh, wait, there's a Paris background. Jenny?
Ooh, who's in Paris?
Oh, that's
It's
nice.
actually Moscow. It went with my drink.
Ooh.
We're doing it for the contest.
Yeah,
but then I drank my drink, so now I can't show it off anymore.
That's good, because you and Lisa, I want to make sure I didn't miss any others that were really quite clever. That's very good. My background looked
mine. I missed it. I was late. I came at 6. I missed the drink. I didn't do a background, but I was proud of my Fun Also Rises cocktail. It was sort of a bit of a rum and tonic with some blueberry and some local bitters from Phaedra's shop down the street. And I just thought that was a really tasty drink.
Fun Also Rises.
Fun Also Rises.
I'll have prizes for all of you. It also reminds me, the newest dog band is called Grime and Punishment, because Dave always has interesting titles. And the other day, this kid and his dad were walking up the ramp into the kids section, and the kid's like, Grime and Punishment? The dad's like, oh, you're not going to read that. You're not going to read that until you're an adult. That's a difficult book. I wouldn't want you to read that. And the kid looks at me like, what? I was like, I think he was talking about Dog Man, Grime and Punishment. It's great. The kid and I knew what was going on, just not the dad. You guys, it's time to go. We love you all. Email me any questions you have. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Patty.
Thanks, guys.